Good morning, Chicago and the rest of the world. Welcome to the Money, Sex, Gen X podcast. I am your host with the most, the man with the plan, the Scotty Pimpin' of podcast pimping.
Indeed.
So glad to be back. We've been out for a while, and I am joined by my brother, the G of Genius Lab. The G of Genius Lab, a dope cat curating dope people. Music mogul in the making, my co-host, Big Stu.
Bo. We are back, baby boy. We are back.
How you doing, brother?
I'm blessed and highly favored. How about yourself, man?
I'm doing good, man. I'm glad to be back talking to the people. We took a 5-month hiatus.
Man.
A little rusty, but it's good to be back. Good to be back.
Yeah.
What you been up to these 5 months that we've been out?
I've been in prayer mode. Super much in prayer mode. Still working on these businesses, still networking. Been outside a lot more. And I realize I like being inside more than I like being outside, although I like being outside. But that's pretty much it, man. What about you, brother? What you been up to, man?
Man, same thing. You know, I'm outside. Went to a great conference. I want to give Speak Your Way to Cash a shout out. Life-changing event, strong leadership, and beautiful networking. So that was great. And yeah, just continuing to build out my platform, raising my children, and being a husband.
Yeah, man.
Just living life.
No doubt. Glad to hear it, man. Glad to hear it.
So we want to welcome you back, MSG Nation. If you like thought-provoking conversations like we have on Money, Sex, Gen X, I definitely want you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Very easy to find. Just type in Money, Sex, Gen X. We are streaming. If you want the audio, we're streaming in 48 countries, Big Stu, 402 cities globally.
It's crazy.
And that number has gone up since we broke out 5 months ago. So that's a beautiful thing. You can find us on Apple Music, Spotify, and any of the other major audio streaming platforms.
Crazy,
we definitely got a great lineup this season. We want to get guests on here. So if you are interested in being a guest, send an email to eMacLloyd@moneysexgenxpodcast.com. Our topics are not necessarily defined quite yet, but if you're interested in money, sex, or Generation X, then hit us up and we'll figure out an episode.
No doubt.
Stu, I asked you if we had merch. We got some merch going.
Man, we got a little merch. We got a little merch game. Merch in the building. Here we go. Like right here, we got some merch right here. You already know what it is. So, can you see that?
No.
You can't see it? That's because I ain't showing it. You can see it now.
There it
is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to now hear me. Here we go. Right there in the middle, man. We have our classic hoodies and t-shirts from show topics of the past, man.
Right.
Hey, look, guess what? It's so interesting though. It's already holiday season again, and we got your classics. Coffee mugs,
that's my mug.
Chocolate mugs, blankets, you know, ease into something else I've been doing over the last for a few months is eating better. I had to ease into it, brother.
Really?
I've been eating better, man. You know, working out a little bit more consistently. We got champion quality merch for those who still are getting masked up. You know, we got masks for you, man. Backpack stuff for the ladies. Leggings are still popular, man. We here, bro. We here. We got socks.
Love it.
All that right there available at our store. So MoneySexGenX.com/merch. We are here.
Join the movement. And guess what? You do not have to be a Gen Xer to rock the merch.
Not at all.
It's a mindset. It's a movement. So definitely check out that merch. Get you something for the holidays. We would love to see you out on the town with the merch on. So we want to thank you all for having this conversation today. This is one of the more, well, I don't want to say it's more important than others, but this is a conversation that really impacted my life on the topic that we're going to talk about, which is our show title is, do you have financial imposter syndrome?
Wow.
Do you have financial imposter syndrome? So we hear a lot about imposter syndrome, but I don't know if and I'm going to ask students, do you hear a lot of conversations about financial imposter syndrome?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. I've never heard it a day in my life.
Oh, really?
I've never heard of such a thing. I've heard of imposter syndrome, not financial imposter syndrome. So I'm super, super excited to hear about what this is and how we're approaching it today.
All right, cool. So I'm going to set the stage like this. I'm going to start this off with a quick story. Stu, you might have heard this story before. When I was 19 years old, very young man, I got into a life-threatening car accident.
Yeah.
I was a passenger in the car, was not the driver. I almost died. My pelvis was shattered, scars everywhere, just, out of it, almost passed away.
Wow.
Woke up and my family is standing over me crying, and they're just trying to figure out what happened. What happened was a young lady I was in a car with, the car smashed into a brick wall. All right. So I almost died. Fast forward a couple months later, I actually got a very large settlement from an insurance company. Now, the young lady who was driving it actually did not have any car insurance. She has zero. But what saved us was my father had a policy, and it had this rider on it that said, if you are a passenger in a vehicle and the person is uninsured, you're still covered. All right?
Great insurance. Wow.
So he held his family down, and so we had that. Got a lawyer. The lawyer said, hey, the settlement is, I think, $100,000. If you file bankruptcy, you'll be able to get, keep an additional 15%. If you file bankruptcy. So being a young man at the time, I went ahead and filed bankruptcy, Big Stu, so that I could get the extra 15%. I got the money, and within 12 months, every single dime of that money was gone.
Wow.
All of it.
Wow.
Me and my brother spent the money on gold grills, gold chains, clothes, cars, you name it. But the money was gone in 12 months. So after that, I developed something called financial imposter syndrome.
Wow.
Now that's going to take us into our actual factuals, where I want to define what this is, what I was actually dealing with. And here's the definition. Financial imposter syndrome is believing you are bad with money, that you don't deserve it. And even though you may earn good money or have good money, you feel like you are a fraud and you don't deserve it. Your confidence is low. And anybody out there, let me know if this resonates with you. If I'm talking about something you're dealing with right now, your confidence is low with money, and you're always fearful that you will fail, Stu, financially. It can cause us to overcompensate. And I see this all the time. I even saw it this weekend. It can cause us to overcompensate in social settings and make us feel the need to prove ourselves. Also, many times it's expressed as being a workaholic, a perfectionist, never asking for financial help though you need it, and feeling like you need to know everything, but never knowing enough about money.
Yeah, man. That sounds like somebody I know that's sitting next to you on this podcast right now.
Really? Okay. Tell us more.
Like a guy I know with a bald head.
All right, tell us more.
Oh man. I call it those times where I felt like I needed to front, like I had more than I really had. Stunt, to prove myself. That part. Read that part again. Prove yourself.
It can cause us to overcompensate in social settings and make us feel the need to prove ourselves.
Yeah, that
because
part.
you might be in a social setting with people that really got some paper, and then you're like, oh,
let me get this round. I got this round.
Right.
Putting it on the card, putting it on a credit card when I ain't got no business putting it on the credit card. I've done that. I've been there. Shopping for. I bought a car once because someone said that, hey man, you look like you should be driving this kind of car, and I literally went out and bought that kind of car. Couldn't even afford it, man. Didn't need it. I was fine in the car I had, satisfying me well. So yeah, been there.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, I'm interested to know if anybody else is feeling like that. And then I want to drop a couple other actual factuals. 82% of people experiencing the feeling, they say this is according to Wall Street Journal, they're saying that 82% of people experience the feeling of imposter syndrome at some point, and this includes financial imposter syndrome. And here's something that I found for people of color that I definitely can relate to. The research shows that imposter syndrome makes it hard to internalize success. And they say especially for women and people of color. So internalizing success. Well, so like with me in my practice, I work with mostly people who have very high incomes. And so like they know how to make really good money, but they don't feel like they deserve it.
So how does that show up for them?
It shows up in spending. Yeah, it shows up in spending. It shows up in not wanting to confront their finances. I had somebody tell me the other day, they were like, I haven't looked at my bank statements in 4 months and I just can't do it.
Because of what? Do you know? Because let's say talk about that a little bit more. What they haven't looked at? Is it they make all this money, but yet they have no money? Is it they make all this money, but it's still living paycheck to paycheck? Is it, paycheck to Sunday or something? What is it?
Yeah, it's a combination of things. For most people, it's the guilt of knowing that you're making all of this money, quote unquote, but you're not doing what you need to do with it. So you're overspending. Your kids there's no life insurance in place. We don't have an estate plan. I know I'm not saving enough for retirement. I'm still, and nothing wrong with renting, but some people feel guilt for it. They're like, man, I should own a property. I should have an investment property. I don't like this.
And these are some of these people. We're not talking about your clients at all, but some of the people that suffer from this level of financial imposter syndrome, are they still rocking the nice bags and the nice shoes and driving the nice cars and living in the nice homes?
You already know. Yeah. You already know.
So they got it all, but internally they know financially they not doing right by what they have financially.
Yes, sir.
And so they feel like a fraud.
And even more powerful emotion than that, they feel guilty. There's guilt. And it hurts. It hurts, man. So,
I think there's so, man, there's a lot that's a deep conversation, because everybody's focused on getting money. Like like that's the focus, right? Get this money, and I want to show everybody what that looks like.
Yeah.
That's like the budgeting and stuff almost can't even help you in these situations, because you got to go look at something mentally. There's something else going on. It's like Hoarders. You ever watch Hoarders, man?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's not that the people, don't want to have organized homes, but there's something else happening inside of them that they just haven't figured out the switch to not keep things that don't serve them anymore. And I think it's similar with financial imposter syndrome, where there's this desire to prove, as you've said in the definition, that we are financially stable, looking for approval from the outside, our surroundings, rather than being content and comfortable internally, kind of in quiet and maximize what it is that you've earned.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. And also you're right. So you've been taught to do something totally different. You've been taught to get the money. And so that's what we know how to do. So like, you're right. How can a budget help you if there's a whole psychological piece that hasn't been addressed? And I talk to people about this on a daily basis when they reach out to me. I'm like, I understand how you feel right now. You're probably on YouTube and Instagram watching all these financial videos, and they're real cool. And no shade or anything, because I'm on LinkedIn putting up content, but that's cool. But that doesn't necessarily translate when I'm sitting in front of the computer scared to look at my bank statements. And so you're right. Until that part is addressed, it's difficult to move past it. And I really respect the fact that we're doing this episode, because some people might look at this and say, man, I didn't know that's what I was dealing with. I didn't know I had a plan. That's what it is. It's financial imposter syndrome.
What should we be? What would you recommend, or what do you recommend? How should we be feeling financially? How should we be moving financially as a people, as a collective? Does that question make sense to you?
Yeah, it makes sense. It's a broad question, but a good one. Well, we should feel that we're entitled to wealth and abundance. I mean, on a big picture, like, it took me many years to feel like I deserved to have a lot of money. And for me, so here's the thing, like, I always encourage people to go back and write their money origin story. Their money origin story. And what is that? It's you going back and writing out your life story, essentially, as it relates to money, from as early as you can remember. Could be 4 or 5 years old, and really getting into, what did my parents say to me about money? How did my mom act when the bills got rough? What did my mom say to me when I got the car accident money? What did my brother say? What were people in the neighborhood saying? And really looking at that, write it all the way out and look at it and see what the patterns are.
Let me ask this question. So what should parents be saying to children about money? What kind of conversation should we be having about what would you recommend that we should be communicating about money?
I get this question all the time, right? I'm gonna have to do some kind of video or something about this, but just talking about what is money, what is it really? Because I think one of the biggest misconceptions I had is money isn't always like the physical currency that we think about. Money can also be I would say relationships is the biggest form of money that there is.
Now, see, all right, this is good. This is good banter we're about to have, because so that's not even to me, that ain't even money. So when I think about wealth and prosperity, that wealth and prosperity transcends money, right? So Stu's moment of transparency, I ain't got no money in the bank right now, but you wouldn't know that if I ain't tell you that. Like, my wealth and prosperity transcends my, fiat currency, if that makes sense. So when you talk about relationships, that's like, if I have a healthy relationship with my children, my significant other, my family, that's wealth and prosperity to me.
What's the definition of money?
The definition. So you want the textbook Webster's?
What's your definition?
Okay. A tool to trade for goods and services.
So that's a great definition, and that's why I mentioned relationships. A tool to trade for goods and services. I mean, you can't even do that without relationships. You can't even trade. It would be difficult for you to do many trades of goods and services without relationships. It could be like you going to get a job or a position you want, but you know somebody in the organization. It could be you trying to get some capital for a startup and you know the right banker. Those relationships are literally money. It's a medium of economic exchange is how I would define money. Any medium of economic exchange. And, it's okay with me if people don't agree with the definition I have or the definition that you have. But I think we do have to form our own conceptualize what is money for us. And to your question, we need to pass that on to our children, because I do want my children to view relationships as money, because that's been my experience, right? But if they don't know how I view money, back to your question, they can't benefit from that philosophy. I never told them anything.
So what I'm hearing you say is it's super important for us. And it's funny, I just made a post this morning on Facebook saying our children imitate us. And so we have to show them, not yell at them, right? So can't be mad at them and yell at them for stuff they didn't do. But what I hear you saying is it's super important for us to have the conversations with our young people. It's not to our benefit to not have the conversations, is what I hear you saying.
Yeah, it's definitely having a conversation. And I know it gets hard, right? I have 3 children. You're a lot of times you're just trying to get through the day and do everything that you need to do, pay bills, work, run the household. It can be very difficult to carve out time to get into these subjects. But what I've learned by talking to hundreds of families and even examining my own, Big Stu, is like every family has this sweet spot of time that might work for them to do it. And for my family, it's the morning. Okay. So it's in the morning before school. There's this like hour and 15 minutes sweet spot that's the ideal time for me to introduce that type of information. In the evening, not happening.
Not for you, right?
Right. For me, this is my family's sweet spot. And so I'm sure you have a sweet spot for your family. You might have multiple ones, but I would encourage people out there listening, like, examine your family and see when is your sweet spot. And then, so somebody's probably out there like, okay, I'll do it, but what am I supposed to say?
That part.
Yeah. So that's what we did. Yeah. No doubt. So that's a part of this financial imposter syndrome. Part of how we get over it is by consuming new information. So watching shows like this, listening to Dr. Boyce Watkins, reading books. You can get a book on Audible. For those who are super busy, you might not read it, but you're listening to it. You're reprogramming your mind. And then you just go back and have a conversation with your child about it. You might not understand everything, but you're just starting a conversation.
If I'm suffering from financial imposter syndrome, how do you recommend? I don't even want to check my bank statements. I ain't checked my bank statements in 4 months, said someone. And now you're suggesting I have a conversation with my children about money? I don't feel qualified. Like, so what would you say to me? What do you say to that person?
Great question, man. So I had someone reach out to me last week, and it was interesting because she said that though she was afraid, she was so passionate that she didn't want her children to be in the same situation that she went ahead and started talking to them about money. And you might be, well, what would she talk about if we have to remember, it's not that she doesn't know anything about money. It's that she doesn't want to confront her own finances. That's 2 different things. She's listening to the videos on YouTube. She's watching the stuff on Instagram. So she's getting knowledge. But now she just has to get to the understanding. But she can verbalize or give that wisdom to her child about when you get older, you need to buy some real estate. Real estate is one of the greatest tools to build wealth. when you get older, you need to have a budget. Budget allows you to have structure and be able to maintain control of your money. She can say all of that. Most people in society, they could give you that wisdom real easy. So what I'm saying is talk to your kids about that. Talk to your kids about the YouTube video you just watched. Talk to them about the podcast that you watched that talked about money.
Plant that seed.
And let them know, hey, daddy and mama, we ain't there yet, but I want to make sure you don't walk down the same path I do.
Yeah. There's an old saying, the shoemaker's children have no shoes.
There you go.
So
there you go.
You can help somebody else sometimes by sharing with them your own mistakes along the journey, sounds like.
Exactly. And this is probably a bad example, but whenever I have these conversations about this, I always think about some of the best barbers I've ever had in my life. When they were cutting my hair, their hair looked crazy.
Yeah. That's a great example.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's not that, for whatever reason, but they were cold. But you go in there, they looking super crazy, no haircut or anything, but they still could give you the best haircut you ever had in your life. Yeah. So it's the same thing here. I want to get into another stat that I think is important. There was some research done by Access Commercial Finance Organization, and they said that nearly 60%, and this is key because we're both in the industry, nearly 60% of workers in accounting, banking, and finance have experienced imposter syndrome.
Oh, yeah.
Both men and women. Women seem to suffer more than men. 2/3 of women have experienced feeling like a fraud in the previous 12 months, and only half of men. So the other reason that it's so important to go out here and talk to your family, your financial advisor probably has financial imposter syndrome. So don't let that stop you. Your accountant, your financial planner, like these people have these issues of feeling like a fraud and they don't feel like they deserve money just like you. And just because somebody's telling you what stocks to get doesn't mean that they even have those stocks. You don't know what that person has. It doesn't diminish what they're saying, but they got their own issues that they're working through. This said 60%.
60.
So that's more than half of the people in the financial industry that's trying to sell you insurance and trying to get you to do this and do that. They also have the same feeling.
Yeah.
And it's not a negative, Stu. It's because we all came through that same socialization about money.
Yeah. Yeah. I teach this stuff to kids all the time. There was a period of time when I stopped teaching stock market basics. This was probably 10 years ago. For that reason.
Okay.
I'm helping all these kids, and at the time, I was not investing. And I felt like a fraud.
Yeah.
And so and said I wasn't going to teach it again until I also am investing and can, be that person that can demonstrate what it is that I'm talking about.
I feel that. Yeah, I went through that too. I mean, early in my time in the industry, I just had a feeling I was like, I'm talking to these people about this stuff and they got more money than me.
Yeah.
I had to get past that though, because some of these people were 60 and 70 years old. They were millionaires, I'm 30 something years old, but I had to realize that it doesn't change the fact that I've studied this information and I have experience in it and I know what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? But
I don't know if this is, and tell me if this is off topic or not. Up until recently, I thought that it was super important to have stacks and stacks of cash sitting in my bank. That was how I was measuring my financial success, by how much money I could go look at in my account.
Okay.
Do you agree with that money should be sitting? And now let me tell you where I'm at now. I think it's important for me to keep the money moving, keeping the money flowing. So I ain't as concerned about how much is sitting as much as I'm concerned about how much is moving. Do you have an opinion? Any thoughts about that philosophy?
Well, it reminds me of an episode I used to have with a younger cousin of mine. He was in real estate, and I used to always brag about I had a lot of cash. Well, I thought I did, at the time. I thought that was a lot. But I would brag about I got cash, people got all these real estate and all that, but I got money in the bank. So I'm saying that to say I have the same mentality about that. But what I've learned is I don't agree with that or with the perception about it necessarily moving. What I'm concerned about is like metrics. So what is my net worth? You got money moving and you got cash and all that. That's cool and it sounds great, but what's your economic output? What's your indicator? What are the metrics? What's your net worth? And I find that I don't know what it is, but our community, it took me so long to understand that, but it's like, yeah, I need a foundation to understand where am I really at? Because these little sayings and thoughts they're not precise enough. Right? Like you said, the money moving around. And I used to think that too. But okay, so it's moving around, but what's the end result? And the net worth is an indicator that can say, well, yeah, it's moving around, but your net worth is negative $100,000. Mm-hmm. So it's not moving, it's moving around, but not well enough. Mm-hmm. Or you got a bunch of cash in the bank, but your net worth is only $10,000. Mm-hmm. So something is off. You might need to go get some more debt so that you can speed up the process of building your net worth and bring in additional income and all these other things. And so I had to rewire my thinking. I'm like, dude, you got cash, but your net worth is trash. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But now somebody out there saying, man, they need to define what net worth is, right? And I'm going to do that because I've been on LinkedIn talking about this, and it's been encouraging talking about money, but it's also been sort of surprising because many people still they're not familiar with that term. So here's how you determine your net worth. All you're doing is adding up everything that you own. Everything that has some kind
own outright.
Yes, it could be a life insurance policy with cash value. It could be the equity in your home. It could be your car, jewelry that has value, art, whatever it is. And it'll take you a little while to get a sense of, okay, what all do I own? And then you subtract it from what you owe. So the debt, the mortgages, the loan that you owe your cousin, and the car note and all this stuff. And then at the end of that is real simple. Assets minus liabilities. And at the bottom, the answer is your net worth. So when you hear people say they're a millionaire, most of the time they don't have $1 million. But when they add up all their assets and subtract the liabilities, the answer at the bottom is $1 million or more. And that's what broke me out of this. Oh, I need all this cash. You got cash, but this other guy has zero cash, but he has a multi-million-dollar net worth because he's leveraging debt to go get assets that are generating income and increasing in the actual asset is increasing in value over time. And I thought to myself, I was like, man, that makes more sense to me. Mm-hmm. I want $1 million net worth. Mm-hmm. And that's what I set out. That was my path at that point. Did I always have a bunch of cash? No.
Right.
Was money always moving around? Probably in some ways. But once it came back around, I had a way to say, okay, is this efficient? Is this working out? What's your net worth? Mm-hmm. And I like that because when I go through that exercise with clients, it cuts through a lot of red tape. What's your net worth? We can talk about all this other stuff and it's cute and all that, but what is your net worth? And once we do the calculation, now we got something to work from. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I'm not going to be an old man with a negative net worth or some low net worth, so I got some work to do.
Yeah. We need an episode on helping folks do the work, which, now there's this, this conversation, this debate between, and it's not between these two individuals but whose philosophy is more efficient, more productive? Is it Is it Dave Ramsey's philosophy, or is it Robert Kiyosaki's philosophy, about getting to that optimal number, whatever it is that we all want? And many of us, I won't say all, many of us desire to be rich, right? Whatever that number is. But then there's these feuding philosophies about whether or not you incur more debt and rise to the occasion, or do you lower your expenses and live off less and save more, right? So we need an episode to help people do that work.
Yeah, and I want to talk about that. So I'll throw my hat in the ring. I created my own framework. It's called 7 Steps to 7 Figures. If you're familiar with Gumroad, you can go on there and purchase the ebook. But I feel like what at the end of the day it's going to be, Stu, it's Nike versus Adidas. Which one should you wear on the basketball court? Whichever one works for you, right? It's not about is Kiyosaki right or Dave Ramsey. It's about which one of these works best with my personality and the philosophies that I believe in and values about money. That's the one that you choose. It could be Susie Orman. Mm-hmm. Susie Orman, I know she talks about don't ever buy whole life policies and all this stuff. If you can find some truth in that resonates with how you believe it, there is no wrong or right. But as long as it's getting you to your goal. Now, if you're following these people and it's not working out, then you might need to change. But you could do it Robert Kiyosaki's way and still be successful, as well as Susie Orman. Mm-hmm. All these people are super wealthy, so that shows you that their information is pretty transparent. So I don't think they're acting. So both ways obviously can work, but which one will work for us is what we have to find out. And that takes some trial and error. To figure it out. Don't be afraid to go through that process to figure out which one might work for you.
Let's say you got a Gen Xer who has a negative net worth, and they bring in, that 100,000, right? 100,000 a year, but they got a negative net worth. Any quick tips for them to, one, address financial imposter syndrome? Any quick tips for them to, two, turn that negative net worth around?
Yeah, my two biggest things would be to go back and do the mental work. So I'm going to say this again. I would encourage everybody to do their money origin story. I'm telling you.
Yeah, that's big.
It'll change.
Explain the money origin story once again, just for the people who are just chiming in.
Yeah,
so that's the big word. That's big word.
Yeah, it is. And it's life changing. So it's going back and writing out your life story as it relates to money from as early as you can remember up through today. Write it all out. Or
when you say that, you mean
do an audio version of it. What?
And when you say that, the life story, what stories have you heard about money? Right? Like, what have you been told about money? How were you introduced to money?
Yeah, that, and also like what's happened with you with money. Like I always talk about the car accident. You could have got a bonus, like a $20,000 bonus, and spent it all, whatever's happened to you as it relates to money.
Okay.
Yeah. You could have lost. I have a family member one time, they lost an entire bag of money, like literally. So you can only imagine how that may have affected him or her. I've had other family members where there was bags of money in the house that magically disappeared and they just couldn't get over it. Who's got the money? Where is, that kind of stuff. That stuff, believe it or not, shapes how we view money now. Now, here's a term I want to introduce that ties into this. And this changed my life too. Something called money blocks. Money blocks are the silent killers of financial progress. You can see them, but they're deadly. You can't see them, but they're deadly. You can't see them with your eyes, but they're deadly. But describing them in words, Stu, reads like this. A money block is a series of thoughts, a mindset, or a feeling that gets in the way of you accomplishing financial success. It sounds like this. I don't care about money. I just want to help people. If I hear that one more time, you have to work really hard for money. I can't get paid for doing what I love. I don't have, and I hear this one a lot, and you all know me out there. I do not judge because I've done every single thing on this list. I don't have time to manage my money. I don't have time. If any of those sound familiar to you, those are money blocks, including the situations and events that have happened to you. Like the whole car accident thing for me was a money block. It's stopping me from accomplishing what I wanted to accomplish. So to answer Stu's question, go back, write that origin story. Then I want you to do this. I want you to write down your money script. Now, what is the money script?
Yeah, what's
the
that?
Money script conversation that's going through your head, Stu, when you start interacting with some money.
I like that. I like that.
That's happening, right? So for me, the conversation was I would get a bonus in corporate, and I would be saying to myself, man, you're going to mess all this money up.
Oh, you were telling yourself that?
Yeah. Yeah. And then, of course, I did it.
Man, well, I do believe
if you messed up, if you were 19 years old and you blew a 6-figure settlement, you're not going to, without any psychological assistance after that, you're not going to trust yourself with any kind of money. And you know, if you blew that, if you're getting a $5,000 bonus, that's gone. That's nothing.
So it's literally what you were, literally what you were telling yourself about yourself.
Literally.
Turning out to be true.
And not only that, Stu, I talk to people every day. They're saying similar things to themselves about when you don't feel like you deserve it. They're like, man, I'm making $250,000 a year. I know I'm not going to do right by this money. I know I'm not. Or they'll say something like, I'm not going to ever be able to get my finances together. I'm just not going to ever be able to do it. I've had those conversations with people. So those are money blocks.
We got the money story. We got the money block. I've heard the money block. I've heard. Would you say this is God? Money is evil. Is that a money block?
Yeah, it is. It's so if you're saying that to yourself when you interact with money, it is, and it's something that you would uncover in your story because you probably heard that from somebody in your family.
Okay. So we got the money story, and we got the
script.
The script.
Right. So when you do your money story and you do your script, what you're trying to identify is the blocks, the things that are actually holding you back, which could be the sayings, it could be the mentalities, the philosophies, specific events. That's what you're trying to pull out.
Okay. Okay.
So then once you do all of that, then the job is to now reframe all of this now, Big Stu.
Okay.
Right? So you got this person in your life that has this negative view about money and they keep talking to you about it and it's in your psyche. You may have to get away from that person. You may have to hire a coach. Not any coach, a financial coach that understands the psychology of money. Right? It couldn't be like it could be a financial planner and all these people. Some people can do multiple roles, but you would need somebody that's going to tell you, like, no, I focus on the psychological aspects of this, right? And what happens is sometimes, and this is what I needed to help me turn a corner, sometimes they need what I call gas. Like we put gas in the car to get from destination. I needed some gas. I needed guidance, accountability, and support. If you need some gas, then you find yourself a financial therapist, a financial coach. If you feel like, hey, I can't do this on my own. Mm-hmm. And you work on it. You work on it a little bit over, every day over time, develop some better habits and routines. One thing I've had to do, and this all ties together to get rid of my money blocks, I had to visualize myself in abundance. that visualization piece is probably one of the most important to me. Like if you're not willing to visualize yourself as being financially successful, it's very difficult to do it. I had to start looking myself in the mirror and saying, Eric, you're good with money. Eric, you will be wealthy one day. Eric, you are wealthy now beyond money. You know, I had to look in the mirror and say these things over and over and over and over until one day I actually believed it, Stu. In a little, you know, year after year, time after time, I was able to get rid of a lot of those money blocks. Now, even me, I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm perfect because I still do stuff that doesn't make sense that's tied to my financial imposter syndrome of the past. Like I'll do stuff like, and I have to catch myself. I'll put $20 worth of gas in the car when it takes $70, $80 to fill it up. Because, you know, from the past, like I'm going to put 20 in here because I don't want to run out of money. Or, you know, when you have the money, but you still have these little habits sometimes that are lingering. So everybody has stuff that they may still have to continue to work on. But like I said, you just work on it a little bit over time and, you know, you chop it down.
Yeah.
Does any of that resonate with you? Does that feel like things that could be done that may help you or someone in your family?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, there's this notion that because we're on these social media platforms and because I turned my camera on to show the best possible moments of my life, that all is well. That I mean, I've had people approach me, you know, with that preconceived notion that I got multiple bags. I've had it from my children. Daddy, I know you got something stashed in the, you know, and it's not always what they perceive it to be. At least, yeah, well, it's just not, you know, so some of the money blocks, right? The story, the scripting, those are important. And then what I like most is the part where you're like, hey, what you tell yourself, right? Like affirming yourself about this, right? So I call this is the so now what, right? Like what do we do now? We got this information, and I think it's super important to reframe it and tell yourself a different reality. I like that. I like that a lot. So yes, this resonates with me deeply.
I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah, we're going to keep this conversation happening in our culture. I want to see more of it. I'm going to put more content out around it, but I'm glad we're getting a chance to talk about this. I really am.
Yeah.
And I like that you put on the screen now what, because you're right, reframing. Here's another thing you can do. And this was hard for me as a person that thought they had some kind of ego, but talking openly about insecurities. That's one thing I've always respected about you. You'll tell somebody, this is what it is. Like, you know, I ain't, you know, but I think you say I don't have no money in the bank right now. Whatever. Like you talk about whatever it is. Everybody can't do that, you know. But I want to encourage people too, because when I started to open up more, I didn't feel as guilty because I'm like, I'm just letting people know what's up. You know what I mean? Find models of strong financial success. I feel like this is important. Most of us have some people in our family or in our network that you don't necessarily know what's in their bank account, but you just see how they move and how they're able to acquire abundance, whatever that look like. It might not be something physical. It could just be like, no one can convince me that a person that has a strong network is not living in abundance.
Right.
Because a person like that, you can wake up and open your email, people be sending you money. Like, hey, here's this. That's abundance for me.
And that's the part, I think that's super, that's the part that I'm talking about. Like, to be very honest, to wake up and literally, and this has happened to me and continues to happen to me on a number of occasions. Man, people, man, I've woken up people, man, I love what you do. You inspire me so much. I just want to send you something. And so that for me is proof positive of the work that I'm doing. And look, full disclosure, our relationship, for those who don't know, is based around, Eric and I met based around this conversation.
Yeah.
Never had a problem with earning or bringing the bag in. It was always, at the time, what I would describe as fumbling the bag. Right. And that's how we established our relationship, because you helped me immensely, gave me a lot of gas. Now I will say, I'll go on record and say that, you know, just like gas, sometimes you need to go back to the gas station. You might need to go back to the gas station sometimes.
Because you know, we never stop needing gas, right?
Never stop needing gas. So that's super important. But yes, indeed, man.
And I'll say this too. I think this is important to note. Like, Big Stu has sent me several clients. That's, you know, when someone's sending you people that fit the mold and spirit of what you do, and all they gotta really do is see your face because Big Stu sent them, that's money. Like, that to me is somebody literally putting money in your inbox. You know what I mean? So again, I want people to really think about, like, what's my view of money? Is it the physical thing, or is it the economic value that can be derived by some of the other things that I possess?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like your network or your family. Sometimes having a strong family just draws opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you know, we like for you to do, you know, all this different stuff. So, you know, and yes, the financial, the money and the real estate comes into play, but it's a multifaceted thing. It's not just a one thing.
I used to always say, go ahead. Oh, no. Please continue.
No, I was just going to say, so I want to make sure in this episode we're giving concrete things, continue to give concrete things that you can do. Journaling is good. That helped me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing this. I'm not really feeling good right now. I need to do this. Creating a vision board.
Looking at mine right now. I
promise you, if you do a vision board, I'll be shocked if most of the stuff doesn't come to reality.
I'm looking at mine right now, and a lot of the stuff, you know, financial fitness is on my vision board. You know, I have a couple of pictures of a couple of pieces of property. You know, I have some things up here. God is all over my vision board, and that relationship has been phenomenal. You know, so yeah.
It works.
It does work. Be patient. Absolutely.
No doubt. And let's think about this for a second. Why wouldn't it work? Right? You're manifesting something. You're basically setting a path for yourself on this vision board, and you've already manifested exactly what you want. So it makes the universe's job easier. Or you might be like, well, I don't know what this universe talk is. It makes God's job easier, however you want to look at it. But the intention being set makes everything flow just very efficient, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know what you want. It's going to come. You just got to do your job, and then boom, you got it. The other thing is, and this is a big deal, joining communities. Now, I talked about this Speak Your Way to Cash platform that I've joined. That's an example of a community of like-minded people, right? These people are out here balling and doing their thing, but the mindset is something that is stimulating to me, and I can learn. I can learn from it. They had a panel of, the one man was a pastor, and he had people from his congregation out there, and these guys were balling in real estate. Like, they're doing some really big stuff in real estate. So the audience got a chance to hear what they were doing, but they didn't even know that they were going to get that knowledge just from being in the communities. So find some communities of people who are where you want to be, and people who have a demonstrated history of success in an area that you want, including finance. And then the last thing is, don't underestimate getting a coach. because all you're doing is really buying time, right? So if you want to speed up the process of becoming wealthy, hire a coach with a proven track record so that they can speed up the process, because you will probably figure it out, but how long will it take? So if you want to purchase time, just like we do in our business, we hire an assistant and all these people, you want to purchase time by finding a coach that focuses on mindset. I feel like it's easier to find people who focus on the stocks and the budgeting and all that. That's cool. And maybe they do both, but find somebody that deals with this.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that so first of all, you've given a bunch of amazing now what's things to do now that you have, once you first admitted that you too suffer from financial imposter syndrome. Once you admit it, you've given some great some great things to attack it and minimize it, right? So I just wanted, I'll leave it at that. But
yeah,
I'll leave it at that.
That's good. That's good. And that's cool, because that was my burning question for this week. It was now that you, like you said, now that you know you have financial imposter syndrome, what are you going to do about it?
What are you going to do about it?
What are you going to do? That's my burning question for this week. What are you going to do about it?
That's for folks. They gotta check in on themselves. They gotta answer that.
No doubt. Now, hey, here's one good thing I'll say. Stu and I are both in the financial industry. My focus is on financial coaching. It's also on, I've gotten into corporate financial wellness. I'm going to be getting out here more with these tech companies. You know, a lot of people that I spoke to this weekend, they were like, man, you need to do more work with tech companies because they have super high incomes and absolutely no guidance on what to do with that money. So corporate wellness, financial coaching for individuals. I do keynotes, workshops, and trainings. Like I said, I have a book called 7 Steps to 7 Figures that reasonably priced, but it gives you a framework. It gives you like the steps, so you're not trying to keep figure out what should I do. It answers the question, what should I do, right? In my framework. Then Big Stu is in the insurance industry. And so we all know that insurance comes into play when you start thinking about building generational wealth. I would argue that it's probably one of the best tools. Some people might say real estate, that's fine, but definitely in those top three. You can reach out to Big Stu to just have that conversation about life insurance and all the different beautiful things you can do with that asset.
And I will preference that. And this is actually, he brought it out of me anyway. I don't even begin to have this conversation with folks until we address mindset.
Love it.
Everything in life is about mindset. And so
love to hear that. You don't hear too many insurance brokers say that.
Yeah, well, I ain't in it for this is not a money block, but I'm not here in the finance and in the insurance business I'm not being led by getting rich in the financial industry and in the insurance industry. What I'm here to do is help empower folks to be better people. And in one of those areas that I can focus on is financial engineering. You know, some people will focus on nutrition. Some people will focus on fitness. Some people will focus on real estate. Mine is wealth generation, financial engineering, business ownership. But none of that is important until we establish the appropriate mindset for you.
Love it. So glad to hear that. And I wouldn't have expected anything less from you. And guess what? You know, life insurance is one of those things that, as I continue to talk to people, that they do feel guilty about, because most people at this point know they need more life insurance, but they just need somebody to help. And you can address the mindset while also helping. That's a beautiful thing. So, Stu, I know we're running out of time. Is there anything you want to share or you want me to share to kind of wrap up this conversation? And we'll get to our characters from
Just recap the now what's. Recap the steps.
Okay.
Recap the steps. Just give it real quickly. Go through the steps again.
All right, cool. So let's keep in mind that we did define financial imposter syndrome, right? It's talking about you feeling like a fraud, feeling like you don't deserve to earn good money, fearful that you will fail financially, comes out socially, as we were talking about, makes you feel like you need to prove yourself, especially when you're around people you know they get money. Like, you know, it's proven. It's not even a thought. Like, they're out there doing their thing, so you might feel the need to prove yourself. Sometimes people become workaholics and just feeling like you never know enough to make any damage on the situation. Getting back to so that's the definition. And so what do we do about it? Here's some things that I offer. Money origin story. Write out your entire life story as it relates to money. Go back as early as you can remember. And you're looking for things that your family said to you. You're looking for things that happened to you and to your family or those around you. You're kind of going back and saying, like, man, how did I feel that Christmas when we didn't get any gifts? You're pulling out all that stuff. You're writing it down. And here's a tip. Like, if you don't want to write it down, do it as a voice note in your phone and then just transcribe it. You can do that too. Once you do that, money script. When you interact with money, what's running through your head? Write that down. So right now, a lot of people are going to start getting bonuses here in a couple months. What's running through your head about that? Write it down. Write all of that down. And then in those two things, you're looking for money blocks. And we talked about those being a series of thoughts, a mindset or a thing that gets in the way of you accomplishing financial success. And saying them aloud sounds like this. And I do want to repeat this. People will say, I don't care about money. I just want to help people. That is a financial block, but you have to dig and find out why. You have to work really hard for money. That's a money block. I cannot get paid for doing what I love. Money block. Don't have time to manage my money. I hear that one all the time. It's a money block. Identify those. And then once you identify, like Big Stu said, now it's time to go through the process of reframing all of that. You might need some gas. You might need somebody to help you, give you the guidance. So first they have to know what they're talking about. Accountability. They're going to hold you accountable for what you say we're supposed to be getting done. And support. Support is not downgrading people. Support is not talking down to people or flashing your success to make people admire you. Support is somebody there to say, you know what, I'm going to work with you like a trainer to get you where you need to go. All I need you to do is your part. I'm standing right there with you. That's support. And that's the recap. You know, financial imposter syndrome is a thing. We don't hear about it enough. It definitely affects women at a high level and definitely people of color. But all races and culture have had issues and have issues with financial imposter syndrome. And don't be afraid to explore whether you actually have it or not.
Sounds like a plan, man.
All right.
Awesome.
Good. It's good. It's a great conversation. So we're going to now segue into our characters from corporate. We haven't done this in a while, and I'm pretty excited about this. Been a minute.
Yeah, this is a good one.
So here's our characters from corporate this week. It says, hi, I'm a Black female Gen Xer from Maryland. I met Eric on LinkedIn. I work in the fintech industry and recently decided to take more control of my personal brand. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So I began posting on LinkedIn more about myself and my consulting business that I started on the side. My employer from the HR department called me in and started asking me all these questions about my outside activities. And now they are showing me all this stuff that magically appeared in the employee handbook about you can only spend a certain amount of time doing stuff outside of the firm. That magically appeared. Okay. My question is, what should I do about it? Am I a character from corporate for trying to build my own brand and company while still being employed by someone else. What advice can you all offer?
Wow. Yeah. So is her side hustle, is her personal stuff in the same industry as her employer?
Didn't say.
Okay. So one, I thought about this, man. Like, I don't like that level of control, right? You can't control what I do outside of office hours, first of all. And I don't like the use of I get what she's trying to say, but I don't agree with the use of this stuff magically appeared. Now, that's subjective.
You're not feeling that.
Yeah, that's that victimization talk. No, you ain't read it. It probably was in there, and you ain't read it.
You ain't read that handbook.
You ain't read that handbook. That's what that was. So take ownership. The stuff was in there that you didn't pay attention to. You got caught up, and if you did see it, you didn't think twice about it because you needed that bread. So you looked over it anyway and went on ahead. And so one, if that's in fact in the handbook, then you signed up for that. I'm interested to know, is this a contract position? Will she do a Kyrie and consider walking away from the job?
Right.
Or is she going? Now, I honestly believe, and this is where I'm going to leave it. You're a character, sweetie, if in fact you bow down and stop building your personal brand. I think you're a character for that. If in fact that's the direction you go. Okay. If you let them control your outside activities. Now, there's a caveat, because if you're in the same industry and there's something in the handbook about competing businesses, I agree with the employer at this point. Like, no, you're not going to be in the same industry as me and then promoting a business. No, but I'm not going to try to manage people's time off work. They can free to do whatever they want to do, so long as it doesn't impede against my business.
Great advice. I love it.
What were you thinking?
Man, a lot of thoughts ran through my head. First and foremost, get your, and when I say this, I'm not talking about the intangible money. I'm talking about get your physical money up before you go and just walk away. And actually, let me take that back or add on to that. Get your network up too, right? So get all your money up before you decide to walk away, because here's the thing. You definitely deserve to build your brand, but go through the steps. We know that brand building requires capital. So you don't want to just jump out of your job before you have the capital you need. Now, if you got the money you need to hold it down, then you can consider leaving. Also, I agree with Big Stu. That was in there.
Yeah.
That was an employee handbook. I've actually been in the same situation about other stuff. It's like, I didn't read the handbook, and I felt like it magically appeared, but it didn't. They didn't go back and revise the handbook just for me. Right. I mean, come on, in a large company. Right. So it wasn't in there. So this is the game, right? The employer's got to protect their interests. You have to protect yours. And I would go find, if you want to work on LinkedIn, I would go find a LinkedIn coach, because they have some strategies where you can set up. There's ways to work around it that doesn't affect your job, where you can set up a different profile and all this different stuff, right? I don't know all the nuances, but find you a LinkedIn strategist that might help you build a strategy to do both without compromising yourself.
Yeah. Again, I'll reiterate, if you're in the competing business, it's tough on you. It's tough. I'm interested to know what the language is about that. But if it's a different industry, I think you might have a stronger leg to stand on. So.
Yeah, and I know a lot of these people, what they're really thinking about a lot of times is like, okay, say it's in a different industry. Is this person doing this stuff on company time?
Oh, that's the concern, right? Are you right? Are you coming to work using my reason?
Yep. On this, you know what I mean? Like they might see a post. a person might automate a post, but they're thinking you on there posting in real time. Like you might have to explain to them what's going on. Like, nah, I'm not. We already know I'm not in the same industry, but just because you saw a post at 10 a.m., that was automated. Or I hired an assistant to do that. It's not me physically on it. You might have to have that conversation with them.
And I think employers better recognize that there's a growing population of people who do not intend to retire from your company. You know, there's a growing, that the idea of being with a company. I'm not saying, I guess it'll go away as much as newspapers have gone away. Mm-hmm. You know, remember they thought newspapers and magazines were going to go away by now.
Right.
And I literally still see newspapers and magazines. And I guess there will always be some people who will be loyal and will give you 30 years, will give you 40 years on the job for sure. But there's a growing population of folks who I'm good for 6 months, 8 months, 18 months, 24 months, 36 months, and I'm planning to be out. Employers better wrap their minds around that. And I think one of the things employers can do is like figure out how do you support that? If you see that this person has a talent in an area, you know, how do you get behind that so you don't become Blockbuster or Kodak? And that's to the employer. That's to all the corporate execs. If you have employees on your team who are doing outside endeavors, tap into that. That might be that could potentially work out to your advantage if you understand where their heart is and where their passions are. Can you leverage that for your company while empowering them at the same time, instead of just going and thinking about releasing them and pulling out handbook stuff? So something to think about, corporate.
Now, for all my keynote speakers out there and people who do workshops B2B with these large corporations, Big Stooges gave you a great training for corporate executives, how to tap into your employees' outside interests, how to tap in and still benefit.
And still benefit, yeah.
Right? I wouldn't even mind developing something around that, but you know, how to tap in and still benefit, because the corporation is thinking like, okay, I'll support it, but how do I win in that? They're going to win, but how do I win once they're gone?
It's almost like, you know what, I've done it in my work. You know, I've moved past this thing of competition. I'm not competing with other businesses, right? How can I collaborate and partner, right? So if I'm the corporate executive for this woman, right? I'm like, hey, we'll stamp it. We'll give you some space. You want to hold your workshop here? You want to do some? Let us put our name on it. Let us put something. We'll get the gift bags.
Beautiful. Wow.
We got you. Like, go do it. You need to. Are you working a little late? Okay, handle it.
No sponsor.
Handle it. No, just make sure you keep our stuff.
Right. No, that's a great strategy. That's a great strategy. That should be a keynote or a workshop. Seriously. Yeah, that's a great strategy. Increase your visibility through that employee.
Increase your visibility and throw a few extra dollars behind it. The employer is going to be super happy. I got my job to support this and that. Oh man. Yeah. I like that.
That's beautiful. Yeah, that's a great strategy. I hope somebody out there takes that layup that Stooges gave us and does that, because it's a big, like you said, it's going to be a bigger issue with millennials and Gen Z, because they're coming in with this mentality. You know, Gen X kind of had to catch up, but they're coming in like, nah, I ain't gonna be here. Like, it's got to be right or I'm out.
I'm just trying to get some. They coming in with the idea of I need some money to build what I'm trying to build.
To build my business. And I'm going to show you what I'm doing online while I'm doing it. So that's different, man. That's a different mentality. Like, that's hard for me to process as a Gen Xer. Like, I get it, but it's hard for me to process coming in like that. You know what I mean?
Well, so they doing it. Good. They doing it. They're not saying it.
No, they're not
saying it, but they doing. Understand that that's definitely the mentality.
Yeah, and I feel like some of them actually are saying it, Big Stu. They're not saying it directly, but it's like as employers continue to look at people's social media accounts, A lot of these people are not shy about what they're doing. Like they're doing it on their profile. So they're kind of telling you, like, I have outside interest there. As I come, you've already looked at their social media before they come to the interview. Oh, I'm a comedian on the side, and all this different stuff. So I feel like we would have probably been more worried about that.
Absolutely.
So they're doing it, man. They're doing it.
Absolutely. Well, you tapping into some other stuff right there. That's a whole nother segue into something else. But sister, I don't know if you're a character or not, but I'm giving you a couple of if-thens. And depending on the response to my if-thens, you might be a character. I think you're a character simply for acting like you ain't know that was in the handbook, for not reading and knowing your handbook. You're a character for that. So you're a character for acting like they magically made this handbook specific to your situation. No, that makes you a character. I'm standing on that. She's a character, bro. Character.
Get out. And I want to send a shout out to all my former employers. If you all want to sponsor MONEYSEXGENX, I would definitely be open to that. You can sponsor this segment of the show. That would be all love.
Characters from corporate. Get in.
No doubt. All right, so this has been a great episode, man. I learned a lot. It's been good going down memory lane and all of that. I hope the viewers have found value. Again, don't forget to follow us. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on social media. You can follow us individually. Eric McLeod, I'm easy to find. Professor Stu, Scott Stewart. Tap in. The audio is easy to find on Apple, Spotify, all the major streaming platforms. And again, hit us up if you want to be a guest on the show. emaclloyd at moneysexgenxpodcast.com. Man, great episode. So do we have a pool artist today?
We do. This is this guy's name is Tay-O-G from Chicago. He's got a really, really nice song. Actually, it's really kind of new to me. And actually I'm gonna do him I'm gonna do him a little more justice. I was gonna play the song from our platform, but I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna play the song from YouTube. I'm gonna give him a little more love than that. So here we go.
YouTube. Okay.
We're gonna play his video. And the name of this song is Tay-O-G. And the name of this song is called Nobody.
Okay.
All right. Can you see that?
No, I can't see it. I did, but now it's gone.
Here we go.
There it is. Okay.
I'm sorry. Nobody. I don't wanna love nobody. I wanna trust nobody. My shit ain't get nobody. I don't wanna love nobody. I wanna trust nobody. My shit ain't get nobody. Hotel smoke, I'm boy, summer with a chain on swing. Distracted from the beat where I mean. Every time I'm down south, Houston to the D, this company stay full of dreams. Brand this half of the steam. All white ones like hand with the ring. I smoke like 2-3 leaves. Never met a nigga keep it real like me. Off of that circle, living in the world. I'm dug in the house, cause I'd rather go buy a new fur coat. Don't got a front cause I know she the one. Or is it me being toxic and fun? Changing my mind like a circle is fun. Hoping I make it these couple of months. I know I'm chasing a medicine, trying to forget how you look off the melanin. Buying new clothes for the hell of it. It can get dangerous the route that I'm heading. To be honest, I'll tell you the truth. Nobody understand me like you do. But I'm about mine in the life that I live in. I'm fresh as a bitch in the booth. I don't wanna love nobody. Now with my trust, I'm sorry. My shoes, they rig no Bobby. Hotel room smoke all up in the lobby. I don't wanna love nobody. Now with my trust, I'm sorry. My shoes, they rig no Bobby. Hotel room smoke all up in the lobby. I don't wanna love nobody. I don't wanna love nobody.
Tay-O-G, man. Tay-O-G, man. Yeah, check him out. He's on Pool. Man. Super excited about what we're doing over there with the platform, man. So check out the boy Teo G, man, on Pool of Music.
KOG, I like the energy.
Yeah.
All right. So we got the music mogul over here doing his thing, creating a venue for new artists to get busy. KOG is one of, and I shouldn't just say new and established artists.
New and established, man. New and because we've been at it for a while, and many of our artists, man, they're getting placed in TV shows, man. They gotten live performance opportunities. Some of our artists have met with some industry executives, are starting to work with Grammy award-winning producers and songwriters. Things are happening over at Pool, and so we're just working to continue to get it out there into a wider audience. But absolutely.
I know we got to go, but can you kind of share with the audience real quick what the mission for Pool is?
Yeah, the mission for Pool is, and let me say, there was some breaking news. I don't know if you saw, there was a press release that just went out just a few days ago about Pool. But our mission is to empower, educate new and emerging artists so that they can live off of their artistry. We actually are attempting to cut out the middleman, right? There's a lot of conversation about what's happening with between record executives and artists. And so we're here to educate these artists so that they can fully have the full benefit of their music through education and through connects and through opportunities so that they can be in control of their original music. All right. Gotcha. The press release that we just released was, and this is controversial, but we will be kind of censoring some of the music that exists on our platform. Yeah. So if you're only about the drill kill culture and misogynistic culture, if that's the bane of your music, it does not have a place on Pool. Now that doesn't mean that you won't hear some of that music, but it does mean if that is if that's all the music that this artist can produce, then we're not supporting that music on our platform.
Okay. Yeah. All right, you're taking a stand.
We're taking a stand, and look, I am he, so it ain't about that. It's just that the more you live and you learn, and the more power you get, and you realize that you can do something about certain things. I personally feel a social responsibility to do something, and this is my doing something. So that's what we're doing, bro.
All right, respect. Definitely respect that. Yeah. All right, so we will see you all for our next episode. Again, hit us up if you want to be on the show. But until then, peace.
Peace.